Okay, today's video is about simplifying an improper fraction into a proper fraction. And you run into this situation a lot when you're multiplying fractions by whole numbers, or if you maybe add fractions. But where you, as a fifth grader, are going to run into a lot of your problems is multiplying fractions by whole numbers, okay? So, simplifying improper into proper. And I say simplifying improper into proper instead of converting improper to proper because this is a form of simplifying, and that's been an issue that we've come upon lately. So this is a part of simplifying, so I wanted to really hit home that this is another type of simplifying. Improper can also be called or characterized as top-heavy. The top number, the numerator, is bigger than the denominator or the bottom number, so it's top-heavy. If a bookshelf is top-heavy, there's more weight on the top than there is on the bottom, so it might topple over. And I want you to think about that top-heavy as meaning more than one whole. So because if you have more pieces than there are pieces in a whole, then you have more than one. You might have one and a piece of another. You might have 6 wholes. The action of division is where you're going to find out how much you really have. Here are some examples of some improper or top-heavy fractions. 4 halves. 4 is bigger than 2, right? So you have 4 halves, you have more than one whole. 9 thirds, you have more than a whole. 18 fifths, that one might throw you for a loop. You have more than a whole. 11 fourths. Anytime this top number, known as the numerator, is more than the bottom, the denominator, then you have an improper fraction, and you have to fix that in order to have your final answer. Here's kind of a visual of that example. You just had 4 halves, and it looks like this. You have 2 halves and a whole, right? So here's one of your halves, here's your second half, your third half, and your fourth half. And you see here that you have 2 wholes. And the way you can look at that as division is right here. 4 divided by 2 equals 2. And I want to look at this fraction right here. And I want to teach you how to put that in division to be able to solve it. Take the first number 4, so say 4, and whenever you see this fraction bar, I want you to say divided by. So you should say 4 divided by, and then the numerator, 2. 4 divided by 2, just like this, 4 divided by 2. Solve it. It's usually a lot easier once you say it. 4 divided by 2, of course it's 2. So you have 2 wholes. This is a big 2. This is not a numerator or denominator. This is a whole number 2. 2 wholes. And here are your 2 whole pieces, okay? Fractions are another way to represent division. So anytime that you're running up on an improper fraction, I want you just to think about it as division, and your remainder will play into that. So remember how we just talked about how to say that fraction into a division problem. I want you to think for a second of how you would say this as a division problem, okay? You would say the top number, so say the top number, 15, say what this stood for, divided by, so right now we have 15 divided by, and then say your denominator, 15 divided by 3. Okay, that's a math fact, and the answer is 5. So if you have 15 thirds, you have 5 wholes of something. So for example, you have 15 thirds of a candy bar, you have 5 whole candy bars. 18 sixths. Is it top heavy? Yes. That means it's improper. So you take the top and divide it by the bottom. 18. Remember to say divided by 6. And you have 3. Okay. The next slide or board is going to get a little bit tricky, and that's the part that you need to know. So I want you to pay close attention to this part, okay? Alright. You're going to see a couple colors, and the purple's where I worked it out, and I want you to pay close attention. What if there's a remainder? Look at this guy. He's so confused. He's like, oh no, there's a remainder. I don't know what to do with it. Okay? Well, here's our improper fraction. 13 sevenths. We have more than one of whatever we're talking about. We can talk about cucumbers or carrots or pizza or chairs, whatever you want to talk about. 13/7, and somebody says, well, you need to make you need to simplify that and make it improper. Okay, so you have 13 divided by 7. You know that whatever you're dividing goes inside, divided by 7. 13 divided by 7. How many times does 7 go into 13? One time. You see this is a whole number 1 up here. How many was that? It was 7. Your remainder was 6. Now this is very important. The remainder becomes the numerator. Keep the original denominator. So here's your remainder. It was 6. That's your new numerator for your mixed number. And your denominator keeps as it was before. Now look, he's happy. He understands what to do with the remainder. So let's start over. I want you to see kind of from the beginning. We had 13/7 of something and we didn't know what that really meant. So we took 13 and divided it by 7. We got 1 whole. Now that's a large whole. And when you're writing your fractions, make sure that you write it and then split it halfway so that you'll be able to show that mixed number. Now your numerator, your remainder, goes on top, and you keep the same divisor on the bottom. Now this helps you kind of proportion your fraction to your whole number. Okay. Let's look further. Okay, remember I said that this is going to happen to you when you get to multiplying fractions by whole numbers. It's going to happen to you. You're going to need to know how to do this. So let's we know that when you are solving a multiplying fraction problem, the first thing that you do is you simplify whatever you can before you start. I looked at this question and I said, hey, I can simplify 6/9, and it's 2/3. This is me crossing it out and simplifying it down here. And remember how I told you that if you have a whole number, you put it over 1. You make it into fraction form before you multiply, because you have to have both a set of numerators and a set of denominators. So you have to put this over 1. So this question down here, ooh, excuse me. This question is just the simplified version of that, okay? All right, so now you multiply across. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, and here we go. There's your improper. So you would say that how? 6 divided by 3. Here it is, and we know that's 2 wholes. And if you wanted a visual where you know that multiplication is a repeated addition, so I just wrote down 3 sets of 2/3 for you, just to kind of be able to see what you're doing. And when you would simplify that together, you would get 2 wholes. Okay? Now this is what made the noise earlier. Let's see if I can get it to sit up for us. Okay. I want you to try these. I'm going to give you a couple reminders. Simplify this. Put this over 1 to make it a fraction. Okay? Now, that's what I did here. I simplified it. I put it over 1. I got 18/5. What I want to know is, can you simplify this into a proper fraction? That's my question. And this one, I want you to do the whole process for me. 8/9 times 3. Okay? I want you to multiply it, and if you need to simplify it, that's what I want you to do. And I want you to really think about it. Don't check with your neighbor. I want this to be on your own. And then I want you, after you simplify this one, solve this one, I want you to come up with 3 questions in this format, fraction by whole number, just like this. I want you to come up with 3 questions like that, and I want you to have the answer somewhere hidden, and I want you to trade it with your neighbor. And that's when I want your neighbor to solve yours and you solve your neighbor's. And then I want you to grade your neighbor. So I want first, simplify and solve. Once you do that, create 3 of your own that are fraction by whole numbers. Have the answer hidden somewhere to all 3 questions. Trade with your neighbor at your table. Solve your neighbor's questions, and then check back with your neighbor to see if you got them correct, okay? Great job. We'll talk about the solution to this and this when you finish that, and good luck, and I hope that this video has helped you.